Okay, good. So, welcome back, everyone. This is session 6 of Letting Go Made Easy. And in this last session, what we'll be doing is releasing even deeper and wider, finishing the picture we've been putting together and getting into some of the deepest underpinnings of what makes this technique as powerful as it is. Although I think you're already starting to get a sense it's pretty powerful. Um, However, this next piece, I want to caution you. There may be a few things I say in this last session that may seem a little far out. And if they do, please just use everything else that you've learned and everything you learn on this recording and take it for checking. Be open to what I'm saying, but if it doesn't immediately resonate with you, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just keep using this tool and gaining whatever it is you can from it, knowing that you don't have to believe anything that I say today or in this session, and you'll still be getting tremendous value from letting go. So we usually experience in life thoughts, lots of them. In fact, many of us spend a lot of time trying to control our thoughts. Yet, if we don't deal with what's underneath the thoughts, it's very difficult. So that's why we work at the level of feelings, because every feeling that we have is made up of thousands of thoughts. So every time you let go of any feeling, your mind gets radically quieter because you're letting go of so many thoughts all at once. You think a particular way for a long enough time and it turns into a feeling. And then even deeper than that is the wants, the wanting approval, wanting control, wanting security, wanting to be separate, and wanting to be one. And those wants are made up of many feelings. In fact, every feeling is varying degrees of those wants. So every time you let go at the level of the wants, you're clearing out many feelings. So that helps quiet the mind more quickly. But remember, whichever level you can work at, whether it's at the level of feeling or at the level of wanting, is totally okay. Just do whatever is available to you in this moment. They're both incredibly powerful. But they all trace back to just one thought. And the thought is I. I want approval, control, security, separation, or oneness. I feel apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, courageousness, acceptance, and peace. And I is just a thought. But where does that thought come from? And are we limited to that thought? In my experience, that thought in and of itself is a limitation. And when you start to see through that limitation, it helps all of it dissolve. And what's left is a feeling of lightness, of love, of presence, of peace. It's what Lester used to call beingness. And beingness is already right here, right now. Without being, there's no chance to experience anything, to think anything, to feel anything, to want anything. And so one of the things we do, and we'll do it lightly today, and we do it more on our more advanced courses, is we work at the level of seeing through that illusion of being I, of being a separate individual, of I which is in opposition to you. When that disappears, there's this underlying unicity or harmony that's already right here, right now. And it's already in every experience. That is here when you first wake up in the morning. In fact, if you pay attention before you start thinking, there's something else here. There's something that's natural. There's something that's very real, very present. And in my experience, that is what you and I are. And it throughout the day and throughout our lives, that gets covered over. And when that beingness, or when your mind is quiet, one of the things that happens as you see through that eye, your mind gets radically quieter. You start to notice the underlying spaciousness, stillness, isness. And as you notice that, you also can discover that that is actually who or what you are. Now, again, don't believe me. Just be open to that, at least as a possibility. And if you start being just open to this and looking, you'll start to see this for yourself. You'll start to see that when you look through that sense of being a separate individual, who you are doesn't disappear. Your mind, your body, your world doesn't disappear. What disappears is your suffering. And so to the degree that you can see through this separate identity, to that degree, there is happiness. Now, the reason we get confused about happiness is when we want something strong enough, there are a lot of feelings and thoughts attached to it, since the wants create lots of feelings, which create and or are created by lots of thoughts. So when in life, when you get something that you've wanted, temporarily the mind quiets. And when the mind quiets, that which you truly are, which is your inner source of happiness, of peace, of security, of love, shines through a little more. But we get confused. We think it came from getting the thing, having the experience, stopping something from happening. But it doesn't come from that. And again, don't believe me, just be open to this, at least as a possibility. And again, I'm not saying don't have goodness in your life. Of course I am. In fact, Lester used to say, take what you want from the world, but take the best. In other words, allow yourself to have, be, or do whatever it is you choose. But know that what you are is beyond that you don't need those things in order to be happy. Imagine bringing happiness to whether or not you have lots of money. Imagine bringing happiness to whether or not you're in the perfect relationship or your relationship is working perfectly. Imagine bringing happiness and peace to whatever your state of your body state is, whether it's amazingly healthy or it's facing a critical challenge. It changes everything. And also, a lot of the stress that we feel, if not all of it, comes from, if you believe that you're this body, you're the person attached to this body, then all other bodies are a threat. And if you believe you're this body, then you think you need to get a love or attention from outside of yourself. If you think you're this body, when it suffers, you suffer. But as you see through this separate identity, the suffering goes away even more quickly, more easily, and more permanently. So everything we're doing supports that. When you let go of feelings, that happens to some degree. When you let go of wants, it happens to a greater degree. When you see through that I thought, it happens even faster. And you'll discover that's natural. Young children, just like young children let go naturally, very young children before the age of 2 are already way more aware of the fact that they are not separate. Now, they don't go around thinking I'm not separate. Part of the reason they're not feeling separate is because their minds are relatively quiet, because thinking hasn't really kicked in full force. Because all our thinking, if you think about it, is based on that feeling and thought of I. And as you see through that thought, all the other thoughts quiet. But going back to young children in a second, water first. Going back to young children don't feel separate from their environment. You've probably noticed this being a parent. And we naturally, and as a parent, don't worry about doing this, but we naturally work to convince young children that they are the name we're calling them. It's something like this. Daddy Hale, Daddy Mary, Daddy Bob, Daddy Shirley. It doesn't matter what it is. That's what your parents are doing to you, or your mommy and your friends, and relatives and society. They're trying to convince you that you are what that body is called. And if you've watched young children mature, they go through a stage where they're starting to get what we're telling them. And by the way, it takes about 2 years to convince children of this. And actually, it takes even longer for it to really lock in. But at first, what they do is they refer to as they're learning language and that they're supposed to be a person, they refer at first to things that belong to them or them in the third person. They ask you, where's Hale's toy or Bob's toy or Mary's toy? But at a certain point, the I thought has taken enough center stage so it becomes my thought, my body. And then for the rest of our lives, unless we examine this or challenge it, we keep adding to that, building on that, and don't realize that, yes, that's part of the maturing process, and you don't need to change that for young children. But at a certain point, it's really helpful to see that that isn't the whole story. It's not all about me. And the less you feel that it's all about me, the happier you are, naturally, because it quiets the mind and what you truly are shines through. And so, and by the way, in going back to the developmental model, there's a reason that it's called the terrible twos, because once there's that feeling of me and mine and I, then you try to, as a young child, you try to protect it, you try to defend it, you try to build it up, and you start to assert your separation. And one of the words you use is no, 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 no. And without realizing it, we continue to say no to life throughout our lives unless we start letting that go, unless we start seeing through that belief in the separate individual. And so this will happen naturally just from letting go of feelings and thoughts. And it's very gentle. It's not threatening in any way, because you'll actually find that your body mind functions better the less you take it personally. And so what we're going to do is explore some techniques that are either help you see through the illusion of the separate individual, or they're bridge techniques to help you start letting go of being so identified with the body mind and its story of suffering. The less identified you are with any problem, the more you see it objectively from a broader perspective. And the easier it is to solve it, the easier it is to let in clear reason and intuitive knowingness. Feelings are blinders. The wants are blinders. But when you're identified as me, as a person, it's the biggest blinder. And as you take that off, then you deal with life so much more appropriately, and you actually even enjoy it more. In my experience, the less there is an enjoyer, the more there's enjoyment. And again, don't take my word for it. Just explore this and see what you discover for yourself. So one of the techniques that's a bridge technique between just working on letting go of identifying as a person, or as with separation, and all the other techniques that we've done so far, is something we call triple welcoming. And triple welcoming is a very powerful tool, because if you examine any experience that you have that appears to be a problem, an issue, a strong disappointment, a trauma, you name it, that appears to be troubling you in any way, something about the world situation, it doesn't matter what it is. It's made up of three things. The first is the situation itself, how we see it, how we perceive it, the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, the ideas, the whole story we're telling ourselves about it. And that in and of itself, we've started to release at that level, and letting that go is incredibly powerful. And it's also made up of our desire to fix it, change it, control it, and or our wanting approval, control, security, separation, and oneness. So as the second step of triple welcoming is that we welcome that as well. And the next step is welcoming any sense that it's personal about you or who you are. Now, am I saying you should deny that? Never. Don't deny what you're experiencing, allow it. The questions you'll see is, could you welcome the feeling that that's personal? That is just a feeling that it's personal. And when you welcome the feeling that is personal, you start to see through how personal you've made it. And you've probably already had this experience when you stop taking what someone's saying to you, for instance, personally. You can actually hear what they're saying. When you stop taking a problem personally, you start to see it more objectively. And so when you welcome any sense that it's personal about you or who you are, that frees up a tremendous amount of energy. Now, remember, those three things all connect together and they create a knot in consciousness, or a spin. And so when you welcome all three of those things, what happens is the spin unravels, the knot unties, and something lets go inside. very profoundly. And often it's totally okay, and I often do this as well, is I add an extra release or two at the end just to make sure. So let's do some triple welcoming. Oh, and before we do that, let me recommend that we focus on something specific here. One thing we haven't really talked about much in this course is that we live in our stories about what was and what might be, as opposed to what is. We live in our beliefs about what was and what will be instead of what is. And these stories and beliefs can be huge limitations. If you believe you're not good enough, you see the world through that belief. If you believe that it's hard for you to make money, you see the world through that belief. If you believe that you're not good at a particular task, you see the task through that belief. And if you believe that people will persecute you, you see the world through that belief. And in my experience, it's much more effective to deal with what's actually here now. The only time you can do anything about anything is now. And our beliefs and ideas and concepts and stories about what was and what might be prevent us from effectively dealing with what is now. And they also help us schlep our suffering around with us all the time, because we have this great story and we whip it out whenever we're feeling okay. Well, I really can't feel okay now because, and then we have a whole thing we tell ourselves. So let's do triple welcoming, this new process, but let's do it specifically on some of our beliefs that are limiting us. So allow yourself to think of either a story you've been telling yourself or a belief that you feel has been holding you back. And just pick one. And then in this moment, could you allow yourself to welcome the belief? Be present with it, along with whatever it stirs up inside of you. And then could you welcome too any wanting to fix it, change it, control it, any wanting approval, control, security, separation, or oneness, any wanting to do anything with or about it. Could you just be present with that? And then could you welcome too any sense that any of this is personal about you or who you are? Remember, I'm not saying deny the feeling. I'm saying welcome the feeling. If it feels like a problem, then you're taking it personally, at least to some degree. So just welcome that for now. Could you just allow it, welcome it, be present with it? And notice just by welcoming those three things, something is getting looser inside, more open, easier. And then as best you can, just for now, could you let go of wanting to believe that again? Could you let go of wanting to tell yourself that story again? And then could you allow yourself to just open to or notice what's right here, right now, beyond the story or belief? and allow yourself to focus on that same story or belief, or any other one that's been holding you back. You may have stories about your body, stories about your relationships, stories about money and beliefs. But whatever has come to mind, could you just simply welcome it? Let it be here. Allow it. And could you welcome as well any thought or feeling or want that brings up with it? Could you just let that be here? And then could you specifically welcome any wanting to fix it, change it, control it, understand it, do anything with or about it? And then could you welcome to any identification, any sense that it's personal, any sense of I, me, or mine? Could you just let that be here? And again, it's probably already unraveling, but we'll help it along. So in this moment, as best you can, could you let go of wanting to believe that? Could you let go of wanting to tell yourself that story again? Would you? When? And then could you just be open, at least to the possibility that what you are is beyond stories, beyond beliefs, and already present here and now? And again, could you allow yourself to focus on any story or belief that's holding you back in any way? And could you just let it be here, along with whatever it stirs up inside of you? And then could you welcome too any wanting to do anything with or about it? Could you welcome any wanting approval, control, security, separation, or oneness? And then could you welcome as well any sense that that's personal, about you or who you are? And then, as best you can, just for now, could you let go of wanting to believe that again? Could you let go of wanting to tell yourself that story? And could you be open to what's actually here now, beyond beliefs and stories? just allow yourself as best you can to become at least a little more aware of the silence, the stillness, the isness, the beingness that's right here, right now. And let's do that one more time. In this moment, allow yourself to focus on that same story or belief or any other one. And could you just welcome it along with whatever it stirs up inside of you? And could you welcome any wanting, including wanting to do something with or about it? And then could you welcome as well any sense that any of that is personal about you or who you are? And then, as best you can, just for now, could you let go of wanting to tell yourself that story again? Could you let go of wanting to believe that again? And just allow yourself, as best you can, to notice what's actually here now. And could you just sit back in or as spaciousness, isness, awareness? Just do that as best you can. And notice how you see the world from this more expanded perspective. Notice that maybe you are this beingness that's always right here, right now. Maybe you're not the stories, the beliefs, the feelings, the thoughts, the experiences. Just maybe, just be open to it, at least as a possibility. Okay, good. And by the way, in 2011, we did a film called Letting Go. And just recently, we posted it to Amazon Prime, and it's also available for free on our The Sedona Method channel on YouTube. It's an 1 and 8-minute film that's really entertaining, but also takes you much more into the experience of this triple welcoming process. Okay, good. So start incorporating this into your other forms of releasing. I think you'll find it's very powerful. And I would highly recommend that you listen to this whole recording again, but specifically this part, and just keep going deeper with it. So another way of releasing that's even more from this more expanded perspective is to ask yourself questions that help you discern that you're not a separate individual limited to that particular body. And one of them is just very simple. You can ask yourself, am I that? Or am I that which is aware? Usually you can see pretty easily that there that you are that which is aware. So let's do a process on that so that you can start to see that a little better. And remember, this is getting pretty advanced. So if it doesn't click with you right away, come back to it a few more times. It will make more sense. And especially watch this recording from the beginning. The explanation that we just went through earlier on in the session also will help you start to get a sense of what we're pointing at. But again, remember, you don't have to believe it. And you can still get tremendous value out of everything you've been learning. So allow yourself to think of some issue or problem that you may have been struggling with. And notice how you think and feel about it. Could you just allow that or welcome it? Let it be here as best you can. And then could you just simply ask yourself this question? Am I those thoughts and feelings? Or am I that which is aware? Again, allow yourself to just focus on whatever you're experiencing in this moment. And then check. Are you that feeling or thought or experience? Or are you the awareness that makes that possible? And let's do that again. Notice how this really cuts through things, quiets things, opens things. It's almost like naturally sitting back inside of who you truly or what you truly are. So could you welcome whatever's being experienced in this moment, including the sensations in your body and the thoughts in the mind? And then could you just simply check? Am I that? Or am I that which is aware? The more you ponder this, the more you see at least the possibility that you are the awareness on or in which everything else appears. And again, allow yourself to focus on your body-mind. I'm not saying reject your body-mind or deny your body-mind or don't take care of it. But remember, the more personally you identify with it, the more you suffer with it, and the less you can be objective about what is in its highest and best good. So in this moment, focus on the body-mind, however that appears to you in this moment. And then just simply check. Are you that? Or are you that which is aware? And for a moment, could you just simply allow yourself to be aware or be awareness? And as you notice or allow yourself to be the awareness, notice how the body-mind world appears. Notice how, at least a little bit more in this moment, instead of feeling like a person trapped in a body in a hostile world, you're seeing it more as the awareness that illuminates all experience. And notice how much better that feels. Okay, good. And another technique that's really helpful in this direction has to do with time. That awareness that I've been talking about, at least in my experience, is already out of time. It's what's aware of time, but not in it. But usually what happens is we get so lost in our stories, in our beliefs, in what was and what might be, we miss that which is here now. And by the way, am I saying try to get into the now? No. In fact, in my experience, you can't get out of it. And if you're not sure that's true, in this moment, see if you can actually get out of the now. Really, try it. Try to get out of the now. Yes, you might think about the past or the future. But when are you having those thoughts? Now. So this is not about getting into the now. It's about noticing what's here now. And also noticing that the problems are what was and what might be. They actually aren't here now, at least not fully. And again, I know this is a stretch, but just be open to it, at least as a possibility. So in this moment, allow yourself to think of any of the problems you've had in the past. And the past could be just up into a fraction of a second ago. And then check. Is that actually here now, in this exact moment? Again, check. If you don't think about it, is that problem actually here now? Now, your mind may fight this at first, or it may have gone really quiet. But check again. If you don't think about it, if you don't look forward or backwards, just check. Is that problem or belief or idea or notion actually here now in this exact moment? The more you really look at that, and again, don't worry if it's not quite clear yet. It will be if you play with this. The more you pay attention to what's actually here now, the more problems and beliefs and thoughts and feelings and wants drop away. So, by the way, you can also use the question, what is actually here now? Now, your mind may start doing a description, but is the description here now, or is now before the mind describes it? So just really look. What is actually here now? Mm-hmm. See, the mind is probably getting a little quieter, but it may still be describing the body-mind's experience. But even that is what just was. The thoughts, the feelings, the description, even the sensations, pictures, and sounds have to travel through the nervous system. So they're what was a moment ago. They're not what's here now. So again, allow yourself to look. What is actually here now? Okay, good. And another question you can use is, what am I? So let's just do one or two of those because I have some more to cover and I want to make sure I get to it. And so in this moment, focus on what you usually believe you are. And then ask yourself, if I'm more than that, what am I? Now, lead with your heart as opposed to your head as best you can. And then check again. Whatever comes to mind or is in experience, if I'm even more than that, what am I? And again, welcome whatever arises, and then check again. If I'm even more than that, what am I? Just ask yourself that. You can also ask, as you focus on what is appearing in this moment, if I'm beyond that, what am I? And if I'm beyond even that, what am I? And if I'm even beyond that, what am I? So I think you get a little sense, or maybe a profound sense, of how this form of letting go is incredibly powerful. We call this the fifth way, or the free way. And it's the fifth way of letting go. And it's one of the things that we explore in our more advanced programs. So where do we go from here? Let me just give you some suggestions of things you can do to keep this going. First off, I would recommend that you watch these recordings as often as possible. Each one has many gifts that get unlocked every time you watch it. And the more you watch it, the more you'll find yourself seeing, feeling, hearing it, experiencing it, and using it naturally in your life. The other thing I would recommend is, no matter what the problem is you're working on, remember to always look for what's beyond the problem. In other words, when we tell ourselves a story about how things are, look for where the story isn't true. Usually what the mind does is it looks to validate. Well, this happened this way once and this way another time, and that must mean that it's always going to be that way. In fact, anytime you're using the words always or never about yourself, there's probably some limitation there. So allow yourself to look for where your problems aren't. I'm not saying deny them. I'm not saying run away from them or suppress them. I'm saying start paying attention to what's actually here now. And also, how life is everything's okay, everything's okay, everything's okay, everything's okay. And this is usually how it is for us, even when we're struggling with different issues. The struggle isn't there every moment. It feels that way because we keep thinking about it. So everything's okay, everything's okay, everything's okay. And then something happens that reinforces or validates our perception or belief about the way things are and why we need to suffer. And then we go, see, I knew it. It's always that way, or I never can do that. So that's a little hint. Look for where the problem isn't. The other thing that you'll find helpful is, I highly recommend that you find a releasing partner. It's very helpful to ask each other the releasing questions. It helps get you out of yourself. And there are thousands of people all over the world who love to do this. And there are resources for that on Facebook. We have a group called the Sedona Method Group. Make sure you use the to get the main group. And there are people from all over the world sharing their experience, their insights, their gains, their realizations, and helping each other release, answering each other's questions. So it's an incredible resource. Another resource is the Sedona Method page on Facebook. The Sedona Method page has new quotes from me and Lester every day. And I occasionally do Facebook Lives where I give video presentations that are completely free. And the other thing I would do is visit sedona.com and check out all our other resources. There are lots of other programs that will help take you deeper and deeper and wider. Another thing I recommend is we have a YouTube channel as well. Our YouTube channel is also the Sedona Method YouTube channel. And that's where the Letting Go movie is, but there are 200 other videos that will support you in your releasing. And the other thing is, just practice what you've learned. The more you apply yourself to the things that you've learned here, the more you'll discover how natural it is to let go. And the more you practice, the easier it gets. Oh, and also, I do retreats from time to time throughout the year, and I do uh, short phone seminars and make other presentations. And there's nothing like the live interaction. So I we on this course didn't have a chance to interact, but on our other courses, there's time for us to interact together. I make presentations and do group releases like I did here, but there's also time for us to interact. And I can help you directly on whatever issues you have. And people have told me that it wasn't until they showed up at a live event that everything really clicked. But that doesn't have to be how it is for you. These 6 recordings have given you tremendous material that if you just apply yourself to this, it will help you on every level. If you just visualize what you want or what you'd like to create and let go in combination with that, your life will transform dramatically. If you do the cleanup procedure, which we did in the relationship section, that tool in and of itself, I've seen that just turn around people's lives really profoundly. And so apply yourself, use the material. And in addition to looking for where the problem isn't, allow yourself to notice the gains, the benefits, the insights that you get. And it's also incredibly helpful to write them down. When you write down a gain or an insight, you have it to go back to look to in case you lose your way. And if you're working on a problem and it doesn't seem like it's cleared up completely, just be patient with yourself. What you'll find as you keep letting go is you might not even remember to release until you've done it again. And then when you recognize you've had the problem again, you can release then. Then as you keep releasing, you'll be in the middle of it and you release and you'll be able to stop. And then as you keep releasing, you'll get to the point you can feel yourself getting ready to have a problem and you let go and you won't engage at that level. And then over time, as you release and as you keep recognizing the truth of who you are, you won't even remember you ever had that problem. Someone else will have to ask you about it to remind you. And just allow yourself to let go as best you can, moment to moment. Be open to the possibility that anytime you let go or anytime you look through the illusion of the separate individual will be the very last time you need to. But allow it to take as long as it does. So be gentle with yourself. Be easy with yourself. Love yourself. And be open at least to the possibility that feelings are just feelings. They're not facts and they're not you, and you can let them go. Be open to at least to the possibility that right within you is all possibility. And be open to at least to the possibility that what you truly are, beyond the stories and the beliefs and the thoughts and the ideas, is this pure awareness that's boundless, spaceless, dimensionless, timeless, the source of happiness, the source of bliss, the source of love. Just be open at least to the possibility that you are that. So thank you so much for watching this program. And I hope to see you on an event soon. That's all. Bye-bye. And these recordings are going to be up at least a few more days, so it's not too late to share them. So again, thanks for watching. Bye.